like in the last since the pandemic, like my social following has grown tremendously, right?
Yeah.
And I've met some amazing people. And while I've been in Calgary, since I've been back in Calgary, all the people I knew, I haven't really seen very many of them. They've done their own thing. Life has moved on. Blah blah. Whatever their reason being, right? So, like, I've met some amazing people. Why not go out and meet those amazing people, go on some crazy adventures, and maybe figure out where I belong in this crazy world? I mean,
Oh,
that's
absolutely. Sky's the limit.
yeah. So I mean, that's the thing is I'm hit at a very interesting point as a freelancer where okay, so now here's the thing. Here's the litmus test. I steadily make money as a freelancer.
Yes.
So I steadily do it. So here comes the master test. Can I make money at will? Because
Hmm.
if I hit that, because there's a point where you do hit that kind of sweet spot. Once you hit it, you're free,
Uh-huh.
right? You're free. I'm not. I don't know if I'm there yet. This is the next. My rent's covered. My rent will be covered all the way till August, as of like pretty much this month. So once that happens, it's like, okay, so here's the ultimate litmus test. In the next 2 months, can I make that steady? Because if I can,
Hmm.
I'm free. I can literally go anywhere I want. Good evening, Miss Jagtress. It's Jag. This is Christopher Russell. He's an amazing author. He authored Divinity Twilight there. He's also an epic gamer. We'll be talking video games, I'm sure, before too long here.
Yeah, we're just shooting the breeze, his future plans. I think it's really exciting. Not many people get the chance to do that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's so many things you can do with it. You can do, you said you're in Calgary, so of course you can do like nature tours. You can go up with your phone and everything, go hiking and bring all your fans with you.
yes. You're getting prepared for judgment here.
Yeah. Jag just a reader? Jag
It's just,
Tress, excuse me. There
Jag,
we go. I have to lean forward to see that.
yes. So Jagtress is also a writer in her own right. She's also a gamer. She's also sometimes my editor. She's vicious. She was she's got I have to send her more stuff actually at some point. I don't know if I sent her more stuff last time or not, but I might be owe her. I think I owe her some stuff actually. But the thing is, yeah, man, I've hit a point like you have to keep going and you have to keep doing things, and you gotta make it. Especially I've done 1,000 episodes nearly of this,
Hmm.
right? You gotta make this if you want to keep doing it. You gotta make it interesting, right? So there you go. I did. I owe her more chapters. Okay.
Better chapters than money.
Yeah, I know.
Might
I
owe
know.
her that too.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, no, I don't owe her money. Thank God. Or she right. She lives in Ottawa, so I mean, it's not an unprecedented to get it's like some of the posse up here to come beat me. They know where I live or something to that effect. Anyway,
Break his kneecaps.
that's right. That's just don't break my kneecaps. I like my kneecaps, but no, like that's where I'm at. Like you hit this point in life where it's just like, well, I don't fit here, and I don't really fit here perfectly. So what do I want to do? And I really don't know where I want to be right now. But that's an interesting opportunity in of its own right,
Hmm.
right? Right. We know that's why we're laughing. Actually, no, I'm laughing also because I'm a little afraid. I don't know about Chris. Chris might not be quite as easily as intimidated as me, but
I
that's neither.
mean, she has to cross the border to come after me,
You,
so
you feel a little safer,
yes.
right? You feel a
Just a
little
little
safer.
bit, tiny
Yeah,
bit,
tiny
smidgen.
bit.
Yeah.
So he's laughing too. He's like, just I'm going to go with it. No, kidding. No, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Like I'm at that interesting. I okay. I have two. It's kind of cool. Um, so, but yeah, no, like so. I've just been getting ready to do that, and again, like that, you hit that magical freelance point of making money at will.
Hmm.
And once you hit that point, um, there's nowhere I can't be. So that's kind of like an exciting prospect, and that's literally where I'm at the door of now. So it's just like that's so we'll see what the next couple months hold. But like I said, I got some solid contracts. I got some things I'm working on. I figured it. I think I got this figured out, or at least halfway figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Shrug. Right. So.
Well, as long as your passion is feeding everything, that you're still excited, that you're not
Oh
stressed
yeah.
about where that money is going to come from, because stress is the killer.
I actually, you know what I find, it's not, little stress is actually a good thing. It
Mm-hmm.
pushes you. It's why the stress happens. What I find as a freelancer, and I think this is true, whether you have a job too. It's the people you surround yourself with,
Mm-hmm.
right? With freelancing, you're trying to find the best possible clients possible. Like that's really what this is about. And ironically, this is just what seems to be the case. The better they pay you, the better they are as clients. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
really about the money in the way people think. It's about the expectations on both sides. The higher they pay you, they have expectations of you, but they also trust you more. And
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. You feel more appreciated because you're being paid what you're worth. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Like, I would say that that's similar with sourcing art for my book and different things. You read book two recently. You saw that's Raphael Lucchini, amazing guy out of Brazil, teaches art there. There was a little bit of a language barrier, of course, but Google Translate's an amazing thing. But I basically did very little oversight over everything I gave him. I gave him descriptions, and he'd be like, "Well, I'm teaching class on these days. I have these other things. I'm going to
Yeah,
alternate
yeah.
between you and another author." I was like, "Oh, just do your thing. Don't have to tell me about it." And then I got all those amazing pieces at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Which is why this works, right? Like you found out for someone you trusted on a professional level,
Hmm.
and they delivered. It's that simple. So my last thing I'm doing before Cali, I'm doing a talk at a conference. It's called the Freelance Mindset, and one of the
Hmm.
big things I talk about is the confidence to say you're worth something, the belief to do it, and what that opens up. I mean, here's the other thing I've learned as a freelancer: the more confident I become, the more money I make.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Well, it's the same thing in the book sphere because you're literally a freelancer as well. Your book is your business. That the more confident you are in social media, the more willing you are to say, "Hey, I have this great product, this thing that you're really going to enjoy," the more people that flock to you.
yes. You okay?
Tom, am I okay? Yeah.
Yeah, the more people that flock because you just looked like you stopped for a second. Maybe it was just a video skip on my end.
Oh, probably video skip.
Yeah.
I'm getting a
Okay.
little
Yeah.
bit of orange bars occasionally.
Okay. 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 So yeah. So no, like it's what I've learned, and I'm basically gonna teach people how to do that, and then I'm bailing. I'm probably singing out of the conference "Carry On, Wayward Son" by Kansas. I'm gonna warn you. I'm probably gonna kill the song. It will die on the way out the door, but it'll be fun. It'll be a fun time for had by all, had by all. But no, I mean that's where I'm at right now. I've been focusing on just I took a step back releasing creative stuff to learn how to be a better um, how do I put this? A better grasp of how to be a better businessman, so I could be a better creative as a result. Does that also make
Hmm.
sense where I'm coming from
Yeah.
there? So I think I figured it out. I think I figured out lots of gremlins, lots and lots of gremlins. So I got to let you know some bad news. So my computer isn't good enough to play Tales of Arise, so I haven't played it.
Oh, that's a
No,
pity.
it's not. No, no. So I started playing it. I still would try to
Uh,
play it. I tried to play it. It's an amazing looking game.
hmm. Oh,
So
you were
much
able to
so,
run it at decent graphics?
yeah, the
Uh-huh.
graphics would freeze. So this is what I'm doing. Like
Hmm.
this is actually the extra cool toy I'm going to get myself. I'm buying myself a Steam Deck
Oh,
because
cool.
that's what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
I thought about this. I thought about this. It's a worthwhile investment. I
Hmm.
have a lot of cool games. Listen, I still have a lot of great classic. I still have a lot of great. Hey, oh, totally, totally. It's probably going to be the last toy I get. I'm probably not going to start Tales of Rise till I'm literally about to go out the door.
Hmm.
But that's
So,
unless
so explain this to me because I literally only heard about. I've heard Steam Deck being tossed around by different people just
so
as a name.
it's a portable Steam system.
That's what I thought. And now the case is, so you hand it around, you carry it around. It has a screen on it. You have a
Yeah,
control to. Is it like a game system?
it's a
Like
game
the joys?
system
Okay.
essentially. Yeah, it's a Nintendo Switch, but with Steam, basically, is what it
So
is.
normally the draw of Steam is I'm a PC gamer. I want to use keyboard and mouse. Are
Yeah,
there plugins for that?
yes, actually there is. I don't know if there's two Steam decks. I think one of them is specifically for PC.
Mm.
I'm not getting that one, but there is. I'm still an old-fashioned
Because I
controller.
played Tales of Arise on PS4, and then recently I upgraded to PS5 in order to play Elden Ring. But yeah, Tales of Arise was still great on PS4.
Oh no, it's
Mm,
yeah. No, it's again what I could play of it. Fantastic game,
mm-hmm.
right? But I'm at that point, so I can still play all my retro games, like the retro Chrono Triggers, the Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, like up to PS3 stuff. I can handle
Mm-hmm.
because the other game I really want to play is Persona 5 The Royal because
Uh-huh.
I played Persona 5. That too looks
I
fantastic.
think you told me about that you put that on my list that I need to do because I've never
Yeah,
played the Persona games.
yeah. So I told you, I think the last time we talked, I told you start with 4
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of like it's not as good as 5, but it's still a good game. But it's also the easiest of the. It's the
Okay,
easiest
so
game.
I've watched the 4 anime like
Yeah, that's
a
pretty accurate
decade
to.
ago. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate to the actual story of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They did It's not quite the same, but it's close enough. It's close enough. So,
Mm-hmm.
right. I like some of the things in the anime. In the anime, the biggest thing I like is the last episode, which features you confronting his shadow.
Uh-huh.
Because in the game, you never have your shadow the same
Mm-hmm.
way. So, I thought what they did there was very unique. It was very, very unique. I thought that was a cool touch to it. But the basic plot of the game, that like, no, like, when did you figure out Adachi was the killer? I'm just very curious when you figured that
So
out.
again, this was a decade ago. It didn't really stick with me. I should probably rewatch it.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing. It's the Scooby Doo. I call it the Scooby Doo game of the
Uh-huh.
personas. 3 is the old school. How much experience do you have with Nintendo Hard?
With old Nintendo games?
Yeah, so the old Nintendo game difficulties were
Uh-huh.
much higher and nastier and meaner than they are
Mm-hmm.
today, right?
I'm
Every
trying to
once
think
in a
because my Nintendo games were Rogue Squadron, Pod Racer, Pokemon. I did Melee with friends, but that was at their house, at other
okay,
people's
so
houses. I did never
that's
had.
Nintendo 64, if I'm not
So you're talking
mistaken.
about you're
I'm
talking
talking
about before
oh,
that, yeah.
even before
Super
that.
Nintendo, yeah.
Super Nintendo, some Super Nintendo era, but I'm older. This is just where my age shows.
Yeah.
I still remember the old school Nintendo. So some of
Uh-huh.
those games, like Ghouls and Ghosts, for example, is evil. Like just completely random where the enemies pop up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It is beating that game is an exercise in not screaming because it's just so unfair.
Uh-huh.
So every once in a while in the current generation of games has a few of those. So Persona 3 is in that borderline Nintendo hard era. It will
Mm-hmm.
spam you and be dirty and mean to you in places, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you go a little too far, like you're not high enough level. Suddenly you'll fight these bad guys and they'll just spam instant death stuff at you, and you're just dead. And you're like,
Uh-huh.
all this work you did to get there is just gone. It's like, I hate you so much. Like
Mm.
that 3's got that element to it. Five is always the best overall in terms of story, in terms of um, world building, in terms of the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
5 is just absolutely incredible. But when you do go back to the earlier games, it does feel like a significant step down because of just
So
how
if you're
much.
gonna play the earlier games, do it first.
Yes,
I
if you
remember
yeah
doing that with the Witcher, that I wanted to play The Witcher 3, and I made myself play Witcher 1 and Witcher 2 before I played 3.
yeah because
Mm-hmm.
those games are still good. I mean, even after you
Mm-hmm.
played but the thing is, you realize just how far they come from, like, in the
Mm-hmm.
current iteration. That these were things they never considered in the earlier parts of the. Hey, Anita.
Oh, Anita's here.
Hi, Anita.
I've been on Anita's show before.
Yeah,
Hi,
Anita.
Anita.
Oh, Anita is my favorite author slash serial killer. I don't know if you've read any of her work.
I
Man,
didn't
there's
know
a
she was
lot.
a serial killer. Hush,
She
hush. I won't tell anyone.
yeah. Sorry, Anita, your secret's out. Yeah. So she's a fantastic writer. Like
Hmm.
honest to God, she's a fantastic writer. But I remember I recommended this. She recommended one of her short story collections, and every one of them, like there was horrible death and murder everywhere. It was just like, yeah,
She's getting it out on the page. That's the healthy way to do it.
yeah. No,
That's how
no.
all us authors do it. Yes.
Yes. No, yeah. I learned. No, you let the darkness out in constructive ways. So, but anyway, I wanted to ask you since it's been a few months, how's the book been doing for you?
Oh, which one? Book 2? Remnant?
Yeah.
It's been doing really well. Reviews have been extremely positive.
Yes.
I'd say that what is it? It's sitting at something like a 4.8, 2 out of 5 on Goodreads. It's honestly the best book that I've written. And I'm tempted. I'm like I keep resisting the urge to go back and say that I'm gonna rewrite book 1 to bring it up to the quality of book
Don't
2. I know.
don't
Yeah.
don't that is harder to do than you realize.
Hmm.
That is I also so I don't know if we had this chat. Are you a Terry Pratchett fan?
I've heard about a lot of his books. I have not done it.
Okay, so he did it
I've
actually
not
with
read
one.
any books.
He did it with one of his. He did it
Yeah,
with.
I forget which one it was, but
I
I
actually,
have heard this story.
yeah, the Carpet People.
Hmm.
And he said the hardest part about it wasn't, again, you can always technically make your books better,
Hmm.
especially you become a better writer. You see things that younger you just never could see. You just can't because you have the practice, the quality. You have a clearer vision of what you're saying, and you're like, it would be great if I could put that vision in there, but the emotion and passion I think you had when you wrote that first book, right? It's
That's what
not quite.
I figured you were going to say, that there is a drive, there is a motivation because you're reaching for a story you haven't quite grasped yet. That
Yes.
there's a candy bar at the end of the road that you're walking towards. And if you've already written the whole thing and then you've written the subsequent books, if it's a series, then you no longer have that drive to reach that point.
No, and like I said, well again, there's always like little things you can look at and go,
Hmm.
oh man, what if I just tightened this little subplot up here? Because it's always the little things you're looking at, but you just look at that. But it's like I just at this point realized that that kind of thing is probably a futile thing. I would rather see you write book 3
Hmm.
because
Oh, that's what I'm doing right now is I'm writing book 3.
yeah, that's what I would rather use. That's what I would rather see. It's like it just and if book 3 is such a topples book 2, that's a testament to you. I mean
I
that like work right.
In terms of skill, you're always growing as an author. I don't know if there will be a similar leap between book 2 and book 3 that there was between book 1 and book 2, but in terms of the plot, definitely. That this is where everything comes together. This is where the original ideas that I had when I first decided to start writing Divinity Twilight came from. So, like, literally the first thing that popped in my head when I was like, I'm going to write a fantasy book. It's the end of book 3. Hmm.
So Jay, when I first read Divinity Twilight, I'm not kidding you. I was actually thinking of some of the like you actually put it in just based on how the fleets worked. You reminded me of like some of the Final Fantasy games with airships and steampunk
Hmm.
and stuff going through it. If you really love a video, Jag, if you love a video game like retro, this feels like these games I played when I was a kid. There's a little bit of that in these books. There really, really is. It's just like he's a video gamer, and
Yep.
he really is, and and does show a little bit. And it's not just video. Oh yeah, it's like uh, Divinity Twilight Rebirth is the first book in his
Yeah.
series.
Here, I'll make it easy.
Yeah.
So there's number 1, Divinity's Twilight Rebirth. Epic fantasy, lots of steampunk, lots of dragons, lots of mythical creatures like Final Fantasy, and then book 2, Remnant, which is what we've
Yes.
been talking about. Chunky
Yes.
boy.
Yeah. It's going to be one of your. It's going to be besides Brandon Sanderson and maybe one other, probably your big read of the year. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's the thing, everybody. So you're going Final Fantasy steampunk. Lots of other people read and go, "Oh, this is like the Cosmere. This is like Brandon Sanderson."
Yeah, and that's a good compliment to have. That's a
Yes.
good company to have, right? And to be compared to.
No, I will tell you, after some people have read book 2 and they've gone left reviews and stuff, they say, my 2 favorite authors for world building and being able to weave all these things together are you and Sanderson. Saying like the most expansive universes.
Yeah, I actually, speaking of Sanderson, this is what I'm reading right now.
Oh, White Sand, the graphic novel. Yeah, I still need to get those.
I have all 3 of them. So it's
Were
one
they
of
the Kickstarter version?
No, this is, I got them when they originally came out.
Mm-hmm.
So they came out originally through Dynamite Books. He had a novel series that he thought would be a better comic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm just reading Jag. She's talking about
that's why I'm putting this up there. Yes.
No, Dresden is great. This is actually the Dresden books. This is Chris McGrath, the same guy that does Jim Butcher's Dresden Files.
Yeah.
So great cover artist.
Yeah, his stuff. No. So Jack Russell stuff fits more along the Sanderson, Jay Kristoff line of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, really. No. Yeah. No.
She's talking about the cover artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I think you got a reader out of this conversation today. So Jag,
no, this is great. I'm really liking the interaction.
Yeah. So Jag, straight up, like, he was one of my favorite novels last year. When I read Rebirth, right? It's when I read Rebirth, it was like, wow. And then I looked when book 2 was coming out. It's like, oh, thank God, it's going to be soon. It took a while to get to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot longer than I would have liked to have got to Canada, but it's here. Mm-hmm. And it's
next on your list.
It's one of them. I got, so here's so right now I'm reading Aveyard, Victoria Aveyard. I have then I'm reading something, a friend of mine's book, a friend of mine's book. Then I'm reading, then it's either you or it's either you or it's either, actually, ironically, it's you or a Sanderson book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I can take Sanderson in a fight. I've met him. I've got this.
Yeah. I'm trying to get him to come on.
No, are you going to do which one? Probably Lost Metal, right? If you've read most of his books.
Actually, you know what? The truth of the matter, for me, actually, right now, I love his YA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he does. I don't get me wrong. I love Stormlight. I think Stormlight Archive's amazing. I really, really, really do. Oh, we'll get into his engineering. No, he.
Oh, because I put my phone in silence. You must. Did you go to my website?
Yeah.
The about stuff.
Yes. Yeah, no, he dude. Chris is a badass dude. Like, if you look at his profile, like, he does a lot of amazing things. Amazon, yeah. Easy. I get to
my day job. I work for a defense contractor, actually.
Yeah. So he might not be able to tell you everything he's doing. Yeah, you might not be able to, because
then I'd have to kill you.
Yeah. Then he'll use his passport. Listen, I like you, both of you. I like both of you. Please, no murder. If you're gonna murder, just someone I don't know. Okay.
Jag's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. No. The thing is. So, yeah, I like the thing about Sanderson's. Like, I like Stormlight. I love the expansiveness of it. I also like that he takes his time with it. He's very
methodical.
Yeah, with that series, I really enjoy it. But I like it. I go back and forth. Sometimes I want something, again, like any reader. Sometimes I want something genuinely complex, and sometimes I like something really, really simple, or simpler, I think would be the term with Sanderson. So his kids stuff, like his superhero series, was really fun. The Calamity, Firefight, Steelheart.
Steelheart, because I think that I have a bookstore friend that I would go and do signings at. He got me a signed first edition of Steelheart. I think that's the one that's on my shelf.
But yeah, no, it's really good. It's really, really good. Again, it's simple. For Sanderson, it's a simpler thing. But I also like that when he goes into that tapestry, he tell like it's almost sometimes like I think that one of the big things about epic fantasy is you have this really cool world and you want your audience to be immersed in that world.
Mm-hmm.
But that balance of telling a story, it's not always quite the same level of straightforward. It's still complex. You're still telling a story. You're still trying to get them to 10
Mm-hmm.
pages, but it's almost like a filet mignon. Sometimes you want a filet mignon and sometimes you just want a burger.
Mm-hmm.
So I find like Sanderson's trilogies are like his burger specials, whereas
Mm-hmm.
his like Stormlights and some of his other stuff is more like this is my really like filet mignon. This is the stuff that everybody's like, just shut up and take my money, right?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Have you
Right?
done what is it, the Cytoverse? That's his YA sci-fi series.
The one with Alcatraz with the evil librarians.
No, this is with main characters called Spinsa.
Is
She
that
has that
the Skyward series?
Skyward, yeah.
That's actually the one I'm fighting between you and you. That's
Okay.
that's literally the next.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
I picked it up. I was in the library for some reason. I picked up book 1, started reading it, but I normally buy my Sanderson's book, so I put it back and said I'll just buy it later. I've never gotten back around to it because I don't know. Maybe it's just that I still love sci-fi, but I tend to watch more sci-fi than I read. I tend to almost read exclusively fantasy.
That's interesting. That's
Mhm.
interesting. I actually, you know what? I can understand that because the big problem today is, this is just my opinion. I think the fantasy book shelf is
Mhm.
healthy. There's a lot of great fantasy authors out
Mhm.
there, but if you look at modern science fiction, you have Cory Doctorow.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking, yeah. No, I think that's a common thing now, right now, Anita. I agree with this. This has become a very, very common thing because I'm thinking about science fiction books just for fun, right? There's Ken Shu, Peter
Mhm.
Hamilton. I like Peter Hamilton. He's got an old school space opera-ish theme.
James
I,
Corey, which is
yeah,
technically 2 people.
yeah. So
Mhm.
okay, so there's James Corey.
Mhm.
Rob Sawyer still occasionally puts belts one out every now and then, and I'm thinking, but that's the thing.
Is Scalzi still writing sci-fi?
Scalzi still does it occasionally,
Okay.
but I don't know how. I haven't heard of any new books of his for
Mhm.
years. Which
Paolini's trying to break into sci-fi.
yes, he
Mhm.
is. He is. But again, he's a. But I'm almost going to bet he would fall. I'm almost going to bet, looking at his stuff, it's going to be more like a
Mhm.
speculative fiction. I think that's the best way to do it.
Uh,
I loved like Roger Zelazny's Amber series because it had the best of both sci-fi and fantasy elements
mhm.
to it. And I think it's a wonderful tapestry to play in. But if you're talking about like a good, solid sci-fi book that carries you, I it's hard to think of a good one right now. You know what I mean? Red
Yeah, I've heard of
Rising.
Red Rising. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if it's sci-fi. I'm thinking about it. I might actually be fantasy,
I
right?
think it's sci-fi, or
Okay,
at
fair.
least like booktubers or stuff that I follow say it's sci-fi.
Okay, fair. No, it's cool.
Mhm.
It's cool. But again, I'm struggling to think of them. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Whereas,
or there's some blend, like what is it? The ninth series, like Nona the Ninth.
yeah. Oh no,
Those,
yeah,
yeah.
no. Yeah, no. That looks, and that series is fun.
Mhm. Murderbot.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
see, we're coming up with stuff.
It is.
It's
But it's
out there, but it's not like dominating the sphere.
no.
Mhm.
I think no, it's not. Like there's stuff. There always will be stuff. But again, I think the tendency with sci-fi today is we'd rather watch it.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's a bad space to be in. But yeah, I mean, if you go to a bookstore, if I look at the fantasy section, it's packed,
Mhm.
right? I look at the sci-fi section. Oh, look, it's 2 shelves, and some of those shelves are authors that have been dead for 30 years.
Mhm.
And I think from a health standpoint, I think fantasy is in a very healthy place, and I'm
Mhm.
not. And I think kudos to it,
Mhm.
but science
Well,
fiction
I
is.
think that this, in a way, is a commentary on where we're going as a society. That
Mhm.
it is easier for us to look back and imagine What if industrial revolution with magic? What if medieval era with dragons and these weird rule-based magic systems? Then for us to look forward, because we are where forward was 20, 30, 100 years ago.
Hmm.
So it's much easier for us to imagine a future with flying cars because at the rapid advance of technology. So we're more intrigued by add something to the past or add something to our present than what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. I also think as a commentary too, we're a little afraid of what's going to happen tomorrow.
Hmm.
I think today than more than we have been in the past, and I think the one thing about fantasy is there's an escape element to it, and I
Hmm.
think that's and by the way, again, I don't think that's really a bad thing. Again, there's some great fantasy worlds out there. There really is. It's just yeah, I mean, I think to your point, um, like there was this Back to the Future skit I think on SNL not too long ago where they actually came to the future, like the one they imagined back in the actual Back to the Future franchise and the one they actually got,
Uh-huh.
and it was like this actually makes me very sad, just like it made them very sad, you know. And it's like the future isn't quite what we imagined it to be, and
Hmm.
at the same time, um, I had this commentary the other day. It's like I'm glad that we didn't predict the future correctly, but like I had a buddy on Facebook go, "Well, Star Trek didn't predict a lot of things." So but I said, "You know what? That's not a bad thing because if
Uh-huh.
Star Trek had been accurate, we know what everybody would have been doing in Star Trek. They would be playing with the tricorder like they do there'd be memes everywhere on the
Hmm.
Enterprise. Like there would be just memes galore." Because the phone today is our tricorder. Let's
Yeah.
let's be honest. That's what the phone is. And we decided that for us the number one thing we do with our phones is go make up put a picture together, put some words together to make us laugh and pass it along, and
Hmm.
that would be the Star Trek universe if the universe had been accurate.
So that's exactly. So today I discovered we at work we have this communication tool called Microsoft Teams that we use to quickly
Yes.
communicate with other people in the office. And I discovered that you can send stickers on it and that you can change out the text on the stickers to make memes.
Oh
And so
no.
I started making office specific memes on these stickers, like with angry cat memes or whatever, and sending them to people. And this
Yep.
took up probably at least 30 minutes,
Hey,
but
listen.
yeah, so
That's
I
that's
discovered new tool on technology and immediately used it for memes.
exactly.
Yes.
That's my point. Cat memes, cats.
Yes.
Any cats? So there you go.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that's the thing. So I mean there are some good. There are some. How do I put this? Some things about the future are funny, and I think that's the most hilarious.
Mhm.
So it's like no matter what technology we're gonna have, like yes, Jag. I think this is the future. No matter what,
All the
no
cat
matter
memes.
there will all be cat memes everywhere, every time, every place. I promise. Right? If not, it's not real. So that all said,
Now we're
um,
we're we're going to send a man. We're going to have a Mars colony mission, and we're going to find out that there are Martians. And the first thing they're going to bring us is a funny cat meme because they evolved exactly the same way.
or actually, they're gonna have questions. They're gonna look at all.
Hmm.
Totally. No, totally. Absolutely.
Hmm.
It's not. Jag. The future is not about how serious and cool our technology. It's the dumb things we do with it.
Yep.
That is the absolute truth of humanity in general. It's not. Hey, this cool little toy. It's like, can I do something? What stupid shit can we do with it?
Yep.
And honestly, I think that might be the most endearing part of the future. Oh, I listen. I did a sci-fi novel called The Cloud Diver. I literally made fun of the whole idea of Twitter. I used my social
Hmm.
feed as a way to for plot devices. I literally use it as kind of like a meta. The next book I do in that series is going to be way more memey. I absolutely promise that. That is
Hmm.
actually in the plan, right? So, yeah. See, I did. See, I really did. So, um,
I bet it was better than what was that? Didn't J.K. Rowling write a book that was in text form or something like that?
oh
I just
God,
remember seeing about it on Twitter, like we were just talking about.
I have no idea. J.K. Rowling, I am incredibly torn by right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, no.
We're
Jack,
not
we don't.
talking about anything.
No, we're not. We're not. We're not. This is okay. This is the only thing I'm going to say about Rowling. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think as a whole, the writing community does owe her a debt of gratitude because she came at the right place at the right time and took a lot of things to a new level. Mm-hmm. Whatever you may think of her current, whatever she's doing today, right? Whatever you think of it, all right, you have to be thankful for that. Again, there's good in everybody. There's bad in everybody. That's the one thing we're going to have to disagree with there, Jag. She's not a terrible writer. She's just not, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be where we're at today. And you gotta give her that. And
that's true. She is part of the fantasy revolution.
She is, and you have to give it to her. And you have to. All right. Hey, listen. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Like they're good people. Good people can have terrible qualities to them. Terrible people can have good things can come from them. Mm-hmm. What you think of her, I'll let you. Yes. My bite emote.
All the biting.
Just don't bite me, okay? I'm brittle. But yeah, that's the.
He doesn't taste like nougat.
Yes. So there we go. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. It's the only it's the only thing I'm going to say. Good, bad, or indifferent. I don't condone what she's doing, but I also can't control what she's doing. So I don't worry about it quite the same way.
That's a really good attitude.
Yeah, right. Because again, it's the only way to deal. I have found in today's time, I really focus about this. What can I control? Mm-hmm. Who do I want to be? And I try to be that person.
What can I do for the people around me?
Yeah, that's it. Like I be the best version of myself I can. Mm-hmm. Try to be a decent human being that I know how. Be open to learning. That's it. And try to be better today and tomorrow. Sometimes I fail. Mm-hmm. That's life. That's just life. But
to bring things full circle, each time I fall, I will rise a better man.
That's right.
Yep.
Dalinar.
Yep.
In my case, I was crossing my fingers. Dalinar might be a better person than me. might be a better person than me. Actually, I wanted to ask, in the second book, who was your favorite character to write?
In book 2?
Book 2.
My favorite character to write. There's several of them for different reasons. The one that probably comes out ahead of everyone else is Major Reeve.
Really?
Yes, which you haven't read any of book 2 yet.
No. Again, so
that's not, it happens very early, so that's not really a spoiler. But you'll remember that she was a very minor character in book 1.
Absolutely.
And she is now a more major character.
Which makes sense considering the way the war is going. I am very curious, and this is the Sun thing. I don't know. You might not be able to comment about this because it's a spoiler. Escalation.
Mm-hmm. Escalation of the conflict.
Yeah. Well, it also just because I'm not going to spoil book 1 too much, but the bad guys have a very unfair advantage. We'll just say that it is terribly unfair, right? And that's all I'm going to say, right? At some point, someone is going to get desperate enough to want to combat that. And I'm very curious where you go with that. Mm-hmm. You're like...
So, the book 2... So, you're talking about escalation and power scale in a way. And so there's ways to tell stories that don't escalate the power scale, the power creep, as you say. So, book 2 is very much about them working with the tools that they have, and there isn't necessarily that next step. There is approaching the same power level.
Yeah. No, it's fair. But like I said, not because again, when you have that kind of imbalance, the world in various ways eventually does level the scales, the level of catch up. But again, I'm very curious where you're going to go with that. So at the same time, I think
one of the main things I wanted to do was you read so many fantasy books or watch so many shows where the heroes only succeed because of the incompetence of the villains.
Yeah,
And that was something I didn't want to do. That this is a continent spanning empire that they are going to use their full might to crush a fleet.
mm-hmm. And
That's yes.
Yeah. So, Jag, something to look forward to in book one, right? Something to look forward to. But it's well, no, you can't have. Actually, the thing is, you can't have a villain as a. You can't have a villain as a. You can't have a stupid villain. It kills all your tension, right? It kills all of it. It's much more interesting when the villain is competent and believes they're right.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least you understand what they want, right? Oh, sincerely, his villains are very, very clever, right? So his villains are very, very clever.
I actually there was one fan I got a letter about this, that they had used my book for a book report, and that they'd written about the villain, and that they said that they liked the villain and empathized with the villain more than they did with the heroes. Yeah.
Well, the big villain. It's a good book. It was one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites. The thing is, how do I put this? Actually, it was easier to sympathize with him because at the very beginning of the book series, he does actually something incredibly humane with one of the characters. He actually does something very humane. I'm not going to give it away, right? I'm not going to give it. I'm not going to give it away exactly. But for the villain to kind of come to pass quicker, he made a deal with his victim, and it was oddly humane both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was not malicious at all. It was actually something really simple.
And it's important to remember that deal. Just remember that through the whole series.
Yeah. It's a deal. It's a deal that he made, but it humanized the villain because what the villain ultimately wants is to live, right? At least this particular one. You have a few other ones. This particular one talks about wants to live, and you can understand that. How he does it, well, that's a little bit more morally questionable. But that's again, you can't have a villain doing everything just right, or they wouldn't be a villain. So, but yeah, that deal is like, yeah, you humanized him. You did a really good job of humanizing him right away. And actually, I will say this: he's more likable than who he works with in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
That on purpose.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Because the other villain that you're talking about is the last of a long line of stewards that have overseen essentially a declining society.
Mm-hmm.
That they're trapped in that endless war. And so that's the person that once you reach that point in society, there is a tendency towards indolence. There is a tendency towards sensual depravity. What can I get for me? What is the most immediate thing that I can do? And that villain is still intelligent, that they still had the proper tutors, the right upbringing, was a battlefield commander. But there's a lot of things dragging him down at that point.
I had an epiphany about the real world today. Like I said, we're not going to go deep into politics because that's not. I don't think either of us are that interested in going there.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I've noticed, like, it really doesn't matter what party you go with. I realize I think maybe when you can tell you really are in a decline is this: when you can look at your leaders and go, can I trust any of them? And if you can't think of a one you trust, I think that's you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, and that character you're talking about there, somewhere along the way he lost that ability to be forthcoming and honest and transparent. And yeah, he is a monster we are all too familiar with. Which is
you're going to like. Do you remember Hans?
Yes.
The guy that's working with the main villain.
Yes.
that he has a really interesting his arc in book 2 is very interesting, but he also has a very interesting realization because he has a very close he gets to experience being closer to the secondary villain that we were just talking about, and coming to see, because that's a person that would have been essentially deified in their society. And he
Yeah.
starts to realize, as the veneer cracks and he starts to see the chips in the mirror, what's beneath. And
Ah,
this is a person that he would have idolized along with everybody else in their society.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're definitely dealing with this stuff. So how many books do you plan on going with this? Do you have
It's
a
it's
number
it's
into?
going to be a 6-book series.
There you
So
go.
book 3 is the end of the first arc. It's the halfway point. And
Ah,
it's even almost split up into 2 story arcs, because the end of book 3 is going to be a doozy. That literally, if there are people out there that don't read prologues and epilogues, you have to read the book 3 epilogue. It is going to be the single most heart pounding, big twist, amazing moment.
so did you Final Fantasy VI this?
Final Fantasy Oh, you mean the Ruined World? No.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I mean, it is a massive turning point. Mm.
Well, actually, even if it's not even the ruined world, okay. So I bring that up for this reason: the bad guy wins in six.
Hmm.
I think that's the when that was the first time in. That's why a lot of like us old fans. Oh yes, there
Yep.
are some people hate them. Like
They
some
don't they
people
don't
that
see a number next to the chapter header and they go, "Up, not worth my time. This must not be about the main characters."
yeah, and, and,
Mm.
and what tends to happen there is again, in oh yeah, oh no, he's not joking. He is
Mhm.
legitimately not joking. Um, they're those monsters. No, so what this comes
You're good
what
people, Jag.
they aren't no what that comes from Jag is okay. This is it. Okay, epic fantasy typically has the ability to do big prologues and decent epilogue, like
Mm.
big epilogues. And a lot of genres, I think, a lot of authors, I think a good prologue has definitely a place in the book, right? I think a good epilogue has a great place in the book. But I think a lot, what I think sometimes, especially since there's been a lot of them in hit throughout, especially the last 30 years of epic fantasy, not all of them tied together as succinctly to the
Also,
story.
here is what an epilogue used to be, and you can even see this with Elantris, Brandon
Yeah.
Sanderson's debut book. His prologue in Elantris is just exposition. It is,
Yeah.
here is the state of the world, with no, you're not following a character, you're not experiencing the world through their eyes or getting things organically fed to you. It is literally paragraphs of exposition. And then there's that for Lord of the Rings. I think it's I don't know if he had something before the book before you went in, but there was
Mhm.
information there. And then there's other big book series from the 70s and 80s and 90s that did the same things.
Yeah,
And
Robert Jordan was notorious for his prologues, but
mhm.
they were all important.
Yes, it was in prose and it was from a character's point of view.
Yeah, he was the big one. Sanderson still does a lot of prologues and epilogues and
Mhm.
all his stuff, but the thing about Sanderson stuff is it all ties. You can see there's a bigger picture to it.
It's all
Or
important.
it's all important, right?
Hmm.
And I think somewhere along the way in the last 30 years, there's a lot of authors that made a prologue that you look at it and go, why isn't this just chapter one? Because I do see that. I have seen that. This isn't everybody, but I have seen that. It's like, why isn't this just chapter one?
Hmm.
And I think what happens is, and we've hit as a point as a culture, there's a patience like, what's the story? When am I going to get into? So when some people read prologue, they're like, oh shit, this is preamble, this is whatever they have in their heads. And
Hmm.
that's why, Jag, that is the reason why some people do it. But prologues are, if they're done correctly, can be really good for the story.
Hmm.
Give a good sense of where the characters are, who the characters are when you start.
All,
So
all my prologues and epilogues are really important to the story.
Yes. So fair warning, folks. Skip at your peril.
Mhm.
Skip at your peril. You miss something down the road, be like, what the hell is that?
So, prologue to book one. There's stuff in there that is relevant in book two, and that ties all the way to the end of book three, and then book six down the line when we get there, like
And
foreshadowing.
and one of the things that, and I've already talked about one of the things that happened in there. That deal is in the prologue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually it's in the beginning of the story. So that's why it's important. It did a wonderful job. Like I said, it humanized one of the villains perfectly. And of the villains, you're like, I like you more. I get the feeling I'm going to regret that decision later, but I like you more, right? But that's the whole thing. Like that's what a good story does is you paint certain expectations and you see how the author delivers on those expectations. And that's the secret, really, at the end of the day, because if the author can deliver on the expectations in a way that is a good enough twist, people love it. And if you go against expectations, as long as you don't go out of left field, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can still give readers along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I find actually it's more often than not it's better to actually follow in expectations than to go out of expectations
Mm-hmm.
because I think there's actually more room to surprise people by fulfilling those expectations than
Have you
without.
heard of the three P's of storytelling?
What what no. What's it?
Promises, progress, and payoff. So
Okay.
promises are what you tell people at the beginning of the book through the way characters are acting, through the plot of the story, through what's going on in the world. That if I have a character that is, let's say, that their sister has fallen ill, and that their entire purpose for existing, they work really hard to take care of their sister, they're looking for a cure, etc. The promise is something's going to be done about this sister before the end of the book. She's either going to die, we're going to find a cure, something's going to happen. And then your progress is, well, how do we work along the lines to finding said cure? And at the very end is where you either pay that off with, yes, the hero finds the cure, or there's some sort of twist that maybe it was something in their blood and he had the cure all along. He just needed to give her a blood transfusion. Yes,
Yeah,
there's some extension of the original promise that still makes sense, and that's why the
yes.
twist works. Hmm.
Yes. That's it. And
Hmm.
I always looked at it as like expectations
Hmm.
because that's the business. Like ultimately all stories are in the business.
Promises induce expectations. Hmm.
Yes. That's it. That's
Hmm.
what all stories do. And if the story is really good, you establish an emotional connection with the reader in the process of doing so.
Hmm.
That's and that's when you get people to come back and go, when's the next book gonna come out? And you're gonna be like, I just released this. I know, but I want the next one. You're like,
Yep.
this is a good problem to have. This is a
Hmm.
good problem to have. So, I mean, here's what I'm gonna ask. Like from a readership standpoint, I mean, the first book always is neat when you release it, but the second book is when usually audiences start to really find you. Have you noticed that?
Um, I've noticed a little bit more readership of book one. Read through. I have a very dedicated fan base that there's a lot of people that say, like there was numerous people that had book two on their best books of last year. Some bigger booktubers and bloggers and people like that. And so I was really excited about that. But I would say that it's an interesting thing about the indie book community because you see the Brandon Sandersons, everybody that reads Stormlight 4 is going to be there for Stormlight 5. In the indie space, it seems to be that people tend to be focused on first books in series, that they will accrue a bunch of first books in series and they will read them all. And because that is the new thing, because that's what all their friends are reading, they will continue to get first books and not continue their series. It's really interesting.
I don't know if that's just I don't know if that's just an indie thing though. I think
Just of where influencers are going.
yeah. Well, I also think there's okay. So in the comic book realm, I don't know if this. I know this isn't the same thing, but in the
Hmm.
comic book realm, the first issue always does a set number. The
Hmm.
second issue traditionally dips down,
Hmm.
right? Because that first issue, that collectability, blah 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 blah, goes away. And then the third one, if it goes to three, you see a slow uptick from two, and then
Hmm.
four. And then depending on how popular the series is, it finds its sweet spot by
Hmm.
issue four, and then it gradually goes down
So
over time.
here's my question, because I'm not quite familiar
Yeah.
with comic books. Are you talking about reprintings of the same volume, or
No,
are
no,
you
no.
talking
Just
about you're continuing the series?
continuing
Okay.
series. So usually the first issue does a number, especially if you're a
Hmm.
well-known creator. It usually does a big number.
Hmm.
The second issue, there's always a drop off, right? Which kind of makes sense because there's an
Hmm.
engagement. Some people are going to like it. Some people aren't
Yes,
going to like it. It makes
absolutely.
total
You see the
sense.
same thing in books.
You see the same
And so
thing in
what you're
books.
saying is, then when you release three, there are more sales of two, and then three is because people have to read two to get to three, right?
Well, I also tend to think what happens is there's a certain like commitment aspect to it
Hmm.
as well, right? Anyone can release a book,
Hmm.
but do you read a second book? What do you think of the second book, right? And
Hmm.
there's a drop off, but then what happens is you do whatever your fan base is now, it goes like this. Hey, that Chris Russell guy's pretty freaking awesome. You should check out his book. He's at his third book right now. So people go, okay, so I'll go back and I'll read books one and two and get to
Yes,
three.
there are definitely those people. And
Yeah.
are you referring to the idea that people don't read a series until it's completed because we have several authors who are not to be named that have burned people recently?
There's
Or that would definitely contribute to it. That's not
that
exactly
would
the point you're
I would
making.
say a contributor. I think what it
Hmm.
is this is what I've noticed as I've released more books. I find that again, the middle book, the second book or the
Hmm.
middle book, tends to always go again down because again now you
Hmm.
found your audience. Like it's like almost like you're finding an audience. Now that audience, when you get to as you release books, starts to grow again
Yeah.
because now it's not the you're not the flavor of the month anymore. Now this is your book, your release, and your audience. And to go to what you're saying, that contributing factor, right?
Hmm.
Because certain authors have burned people by how long it's been between books, right? They will not be named. Some people want to go, I'm just going to wait till the whole series is
Uh,
done.
can you imagine the number of people that have died waiting on those books?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, my God. Yes. I can think of two authors in particular right
Yes,
now.
those are exactly the two I'm thinking of.
Yes, I know. And we're like, just why? Just do it. Just get this over with, right? I mean, Stephen King was one of those authors too for a very long time with the Dark Tower stuff.
Hmm.
He finally said, "Fuck it, I'm finishing this," right?
Hmm.
And he did. He finished it, and I'm like, "Oh, thank God!" Right? Or I
Hmm.
was happy. But I mean, from like 1994 to like 2000s, that definitely
Yeah, there
doesn't.
are a lot of people when you do a 99-cent sale that'll just collect it and then sit
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
They
exactly,
may never read it.
totally.
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
that definitely is. I think this is definitely more of an indie trend for sure.
Hmm.
Like this part right here, they put first books at a lower price too because it makes sense. You want people that you want how to put this the gateway drug. Here's your
Hmm.
gateway drug. Come on in, try my stuff out, and then get your fix, and then I'll come give you more for a price, which is good business sense too. It's just what I think. I think what it is there's a little bit of that as well. I think that's specifically indie. I think the other stuff, I don't. I think okay. Let's be honest. Sanderson is kind of in a unique like sphere, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's fair.
I mean, that's exactly what I meant, Anita. That there is. So let's say that there are 1,000 books released in a week or something like that, and
Hmm.
let's say that ten of those are really phenomenal books that everyone's going to want to read. Well, that means that there are 520 books in a year that are good enough to be 5 stars, people's favorite books in a year. And there's no way that a single person can read all 520 of those. So there is a saturation of great media right now. There was a boon. It was much easier to be a break-in indie author at the time Amazon was just starting to push ebooks. So like 2015, 2016, around that time, than it is to be an indie author in the 2020s. And I debuted in 2020, and it is now harder, I'd say, for a debut author of 2023 than it was for me in 2020.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, totally. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I think those are very indie specific issues, what you're
Yes.
talking about there. I think some of what you're also talking about, though, in terms of like the drop off and stuff, I think that's everybody. I think that's everybody unless you're a Sanderson or one of
Correct.
those, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Or
Because
a Will White, to use an indie example.
yeah, or Will Y, or like anybody that's got an established name and has
Mhm.
like that reputation firmly entrenched that their stuff
Mhm.
is good, and that takes a long time for any
Mhm.
author to do. It's not they didn't like. I mean, sure. I mean, use Sanders as an example. Yeah, the Wheel of Time helped, but I mean, he had already released a bunch of books prior to that point
Mhm.
as well. So it
Well, he was
was
already releasing Stormlight in between the
yeah,
Wheel of Time books.
yeah,
So what this is actually a funny story.
yeah,
So and I think that I heard part of this from Sanderson, part of this from Chris McGrath. And
yeah.
so this would have been conversing back and forth in between covers with Chris McGrath. So Elantris comes out. Sanderson sells maybe, I think it was like a few thousand in
Hmm.
the first month or something like that. And he thinks it's great. His agent or editor, whoever, say, "Oh, it's okay." And so that's the hardcover. And then the paperback comes out and it does middling as well. And then he moves into The Mistborn. And book one sells a lot. Book two, there's a big drop off. Book three, there's a big drop off. And these are with the original covers, whatever the
Yes.
have you seen the original Mistborn covers?
I still have them actually.
Mm. Some
I
people love them. Some are like, this doesn't really match. This is kind of whimsical,
no.
kind of different than this gritty ash covered world that we're getting into.
Yes.
So the cover didn't necessarily match the material. And so it's time to do the paperbacks for Mistborn. And they go and get Chris McGrath to do the covers. And people love the Chris McGrath covers. Suddenly everybody's buying Mistborn. They're getting the 3 packs once they come out. And there's just this huge boon. And people are finding out about this Sanderson guy because they love the cover art. And so
Hmm.
Sanderson literally said, he says Chris McGrath saved his career.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, absolutely. No, right. Actually, it's funny. I had an author who's trying to to re-release a book. I gave him incredible shit for his cover because, because it looked like you don't want your covers to look like cardstock,
Yes.
like the stock covers. You just don't. You don't want that. And even if you're having and this is why I gave him shit. Even if your sales aren't going to be as high on a book that you're re-releasing, because you're not expecting that,
Hmm.
you have a brand.
Yes.
And if your cover standard is below a certain threshold, right?
Hmm.
No one's like it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Hmm.
right? It's like, well, the book's not going to sell. No
Hmm.
shit, right? No one, people are going to look at that and go shrug and move on, and
Hmm.
that right. So it's really important. It's one of the most important things with any book is, again, and by the way, I should say this very carefully. There's nothing necessarily wrong with certain stock covers because some
Yes.
of them are really, really nice. But you have to be very careful. There, you have to look at the quality of the work being done. Is it reflective of the story you're telling?
Hmm.
Because people do judge books by their cover. They really do, and
That's why bookstores turn the covers out. It's the
yeah,
first thing you see. You're not going to see that text. You're not even going to see the title. You're going to see the picture.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, you might see Brandon Sanderson's name on his books before you see the art because it's just huge, but that's
Well,
now.
but again,
Yes,
that's
that
the
wasn't to
end.
begin with. Yeah.
But yeah, but that's the end goal. Like of
Yep.
every author is the name. Your name eventually becomes the selling point, right?
Hmm.
But when you're starting, or I think I can put you in high mid list range authors. Is that or
Yeah.
right? That's
Midlist.
that's where you're at, right? So you're trying to become a bestseller. So You want people when they look
Granted,
at
for your audience, let's clarify that there is a difference between an indie bestseller and a Brandon Sanderson bestseller.
that is
You would like to
correct.
be the Brandon Sanderson bestseller, but an indie bestseller is also really good.
Yes.
That would be comparable to like the top of the trad mid list would be an indie bestseller. Will White is Will White is pulling in great figures, so you can definitely hit it as an indie bestseller too.
Oh no.
But there's a difference in scale normally.
Okay. How about this? You want to get to the top. We'll just say this for the sake of argument. The top 5 to 7%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
That's every author's goal.
That's every author's goal. That should, or it should be anyway, right? Right. So your look, your presentation, everything you're going to have is going to reflect that look, that goal, that brand, because otherwise, someone's going to look and say, "Hey, that book's amazing," and then they look at some of the stuff you've done in the past, and again, your quality might be slightly better. Again, you might be better as time goes on, but it isn't such a big gap that you can look. People will look back. Oh, this was his first thing. Okay, that's cool, and they're not going to think twice about it, or they're going to look back. This is your first thing, and if they twitch a little bit at your cover, you probably need a new cover. Like you do, right? You don't want the gap to be so big that people will look at your past stuff and just dismiss you.
And that is literally, you've described it, the goal of every author. It's to have an attractive backlist that people find a book they love, and because you wrote it, they want to read everything else that you've ever done.
Yeah, that is the business model. Now, whether you hit that big, I firmly believe this. I firmly believe you can't control how far you go successfully, but what I do believe is you can look at the steps you're taking and going, am I giving myself the best chance to succeed? Right. And if the answer is yes, now again, I get it, folks. Like sometimes your budget, your limits, whatever those might be, you have to work in them, and that's fine. And if you're just working in them and doing the best you can, cool. But when you get the opportunity to keep bettering yourself, you take those opportunities, because the more you invest in yourself, and that's what goes back almost full circle, the more confident you're going to appear to your audience, and the more likely the audience is going to buy.
And we don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole.
No,
I don't know if that's the part of the discussion. But if you are an indie author as opposed to a trad author goes out and finds, they do a bunch of querying, that there's a bunch of letters and there's a bunch of upfront effort. They get an agent. The agent pitches the book to an editor and a publisher. There's a process. There's years between where you start and when your book comes out. If you're an indie author, you're going to be doing all that yourself. And so your first book, unless you are a smash hit overnight success, and I only know of one of those that I can name off the top of my head, which is Ryan Cahill with The Bound and the Broken. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have heard of it, actually. It's good. Okay. It gets recommended to me all the time. I look at books like yours.
So he was an overnight smash hit, essentially. But unless you are Ryan Cahill or somebody comparable, your first book, maybe even your second book or third book, those are going to be investments. You are going to be in the red. That you are going to be putting in a lot of upfront work and a lot of upfront money to start to reap the benefits as you go down the road.
That's right. And that's it. And that's the career. And once you get to a certain point, you have built an audience. And once you've built that audience, all that stuff, again, every author, like the real money in this is your backlist. It always will be your backlist, right? So now, that all said, the more successful you are up front, probably a better chance you're going to have, your backlist is going to keep doing well. But again, it can happen overnight. So you have to invest and ultimately believe in yourself. So, and I think we're almost near the end of this. So before we wrap up, a couple questions for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to be the cheeky one. So when does book 3 come out? No, I'm kidding.
I hope, I'm thinking either December or January. It's going to be somewhere around the turn of the year. I don't know whether it's going to be a 23 or a 24, though.
That's fine. Yeah. Wow. I got to say, it's like straight up, I was like half joking, because I obviously, like with books like this,
No, and
things to
I
do.
can tell you, I just actually released the prologue to my website and my newsletters, and so the title for that is out. I'm continuing the pattern. So we have Rebirth, we have Remnant, and then book 3 is going to be Revelations.
Which sounds, actually, considering how you describe the end of how book 3 ends, it's probably going to
Yes.
be, that's probably going to be very, very important.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. And I'll ask him about all the stuff he's going to do in just a second there. I guess the last real question I really wanted to ask you is, it's been a few months now. You've been
Ooh,
dusted
Myst
this.
games. I love those, Jack.
Yeah, they're great. Ooh, there you go. Fantastic. It's been a long time since I've seen a Myst game.
Yep.
Man, they were good.
They need the era of remakes is upon us. They should do those.
It's one of them. It's actually one. It's one of the remakes I think they should do. I was always a sucker for a game called Forsaken.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
I haven't heard that. No.
Oh, it's another old. It's in the Myst realm of themes.
Oh, speaking of things that need a remake, did we ever talk about Legend of Dragoon?
No, we should. Oh my god, that's
Okay.
such a good game.
Yes.
That is such a fantastic.
That was my favorite game when I was growing up, like middle school / teen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dragoon. Yeah, absolutely. No, I still have my PlayStation copy of it.
So for a turn-based RPG, no one can convince me that wasn't one of the most brilliant systems of all time. The input.
I'm thinking. Okay, there are a couple I could put in that category, but yeah, it's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a sweet game. It is legitimately. I was okay considering how it was advertised,
Mm-hmm.
how it was advertised, and how it played. It blew my expectations away because you remember the advertisements where they kind of like said, "He cut my head off." I still remember this. He cut my head off, Nigel. He actually cut off my head. I'm like, okay, that was funny. It made me laugh. Then I played the game. It's like, you have some incredible depth here. Why didn't you advertise this?
Because that was what they were doing. That was Dragoon was 97 or 99.
I think I'm going to say 97, but
okay,
it's very possible it was 99.
Because that was the advertising they were doing around that time, like when Halo came out. Remember they had like the live real people doing Halo advertising too.
Yeah, it was that was terrible too. Halo was definitely not that, right? But I mean, yeah, no, Dragoon is one of those gems. Like you didn't. I can see why people missed it because of just how it was presented. But no, if you can play that game, folks, if you ever want to play that game, you will not be disappointed. It's a well told story, amazing game mechanics, fun ending, very fun ending, and
really great characters.
Yeah, it's really really good. I'm a sucker for Chrono Trigger.
I still need to play Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, but it's in that range. It's still in that. It's in that range. Surprisingly addicting and fun. It's like a Chrono Trigger. It was same thing. You go in there, it's by itself. It's one of those sweet little like I guess I could put it like this. I think my favorite stories and games and stuff like that are the ones where I don't come in with any preconceived notions of what I'm getting. I'm just gonna go in there and it's like, this looks fun. Let me go in. Let me enjoy it. I have found that the surprise of it has added to the enjoyment for me personally. I don't know about you. I don't know if that was why.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so this actually happened to me recently. That I got on the. Have you ever played Nier Replicant or Nier Automata?
I played Automata. A little bit.
Okay, so we'll talk about that second. So when they did the remake, that was when I discovered Nier. I'd heard about it previously, and I thought that because I'd only seen Nier Automata, I was like, oh, this is that series with the sexy maids, and that's the marketing for this. And this one is like the fantasy versions of the sci-fi version. I was like, I've been hearing about this from all different things. I'm finally going to play it. And have you played the first one?
I did not play the first one.
Okay. Right. Beautiful story, absolutely breathtaking. probably in my top 10. Automata, which I'll get to in a second, is definitely like top 5 or top 3.
Yeah.
But beautiful story, and this interesting thing where it reveals more about what's going on, what your role in the world is, what's actually going on with each successive chapter as you get more information. And again, Automata repeats this, and then you have to do additional playthroughs. That the game's not terribly long, but you have to do those additional playthroughs in order to get the true story. And this was fascinating to me, that I love the combat, love the characters, got through it. And then, of course, I was like, I reached the end. I was like, oh, I love this so much. This was an amazing experience, heartfelt, moving masterpiece. Am I going to play Automata and really break this? And then I played Automata, and it blew the original out of the water. It was just that is
I'll have to go back then before,
you have to go back, but
because I dabbled in Automata a little bit. It felt really good.
Oh, you've never finished it?
No, the reason I'll tell you, because again, for this reason you just mentioned, because it just had such an I don't have the time as much as I used to. So I have to really pick and choose what games I'm playing. And here's the thing.
There is meaning and depth and philosophy woven into every aspect.
It felt, this is like the legitimate reason why I stopped was this. It felt like this was one of those games I wanted to take a real time to play, because it felt to me like if I piecemealed it, one, I don't think I could have done it. I think I would have just gone all the way in, and it just would have came out a few days later going, well, that was my life for like, 4 or 5 days. Right. And that's what it felt like when I played. It's like, it felt like a really, really, really amazing experience. But I have to be an adult sometimes, Chris. It sucks. Right. So I made the decision that when I do the Nier games again, it's going to be, hell, shit, maybe what I'll do and get the Steam Deck. Right. I will get the Nier, and I will take 3, 4, 5 days, and because again, just for what you said, there's so many ways you can go with the game. There's so much story and depth and character that I thought to myself when I played this, it's like, this game is not designed to go, I'm going to play it now, I'm going to play this a month later. Like it's not
something that you can do in 30-minute or an hour blocks.
No, you can't do it, or you shouldn't try. Like that was the real impression I got with it. But
it is an immersive experience. You are absorbing because how you got a little ways in, you're absorbing the ruined city. What happened here? Where did everyone go? Why are the robots milling around? I'm killing these enemies. Why am I killing these enemies?
And even go deeper, like, why am I here now? It's like, what's going on? It's great. But at the same time, it's like, okay, when I started going, I played it for like a couple hours. It's like, okay, this is really cool. And then I realized the game, how long? And I looked at like the game time. Each time, it's like, I think it's something like 8 to 20 hours, depending on what you do. And it's like, oh, you're going to go back and holy shit, this is going to be like, and I looked, I was like, I got to put this down. And it makes me sad, but I have to put this down because I don't have
granted, my first playthrough was 40 hours.
Yeah.
And then you have to replay it at least. I think you have to replay the first portion twice.
Yeah, okay.
So first 40 hours, I did all the side quests I possibly could before the second playthrough.
Okay.
And then things change in between. You actually switch primary characters, which is between the playthroughs.
Okay, that's cool.
So 40 hours. Second one was maybe 25. And then it branches off into the third playthrough, which continues the story, both of the first 2 playthroughs. You get it is incredible. I don't want to really spoil anything, but you even get a new intro. One of the best tracks in the gameplay.
Okay, yeah.
It's the start of a new game midway through.
I love games, and honestly, Chris, I love games like that. I really, really do. The problem is being an adult, man, sucks sometimes. You have to pick and choose. So So, folks, I got another game series. I'm gonna go back and play the first one first because I started with the
Uh,
Totema. I
mhm.
didn't play the original. So go play
There's a loose connection, and there's lore from the original that pops up again, and
so
a couple characters.
So I'll ask this because this is just
Mhm,
like a persona question per interview.
mhm.
If I play the first one, is the drop down significant enough that I'm gonna notice, or will I be able to just
This
play them
the storytelling and the atmosphere and the music is all going to bump. So story's going to bump up a lot, but it was already a masterpiece, so you're just like doubling a masterpiece.
Okay.
Um, the the ambiance with the settings and with the music is going to take a one notch or one or two notch step up.
It's not gonna cripple me.
Combat is going to go from like a let's say like a 3 out of 5 to a 6 out of 5.
Okay, so play the
Yes.
first one first then. Just
Yes.
play the first one first before I play
Yes.
the second one because there is going to be a gap.
The biggest difference is going to be in the combat.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Okay. So noted.
mhm,
Go play the first one.
mhm.
Also, I guess the near series will be when I'm on the road, when I'm not traveling and exploring, I'll be Steam decking all these games finally. I'll be like,
Yep.
yes, yes.
And you have to
Um,
tell me all about them.
yeah, I will. I totally will. Actually, which leads to I actually have two more questions, and this is one video game in your fantasy series. Would that be the dream?
Oh, a video game of my fantasy series? Yes.
Yes.
Um, eh, eh,
But
I would think so. Everybody dreams of having like a Netflix series, well, maybe not an Amazon Prime series. They're hit or miss. But yeah. But
I
anyway, everybody
yeah.
dreams about that. That's going to reach the most people. I would love that. But personally, I would love a video game because
See,
I've even set it up in a way that a video game world would work, and you don't even have to follow the same storyline. It could be
see,
an MMO.
personally,
Yes.
I actually prefer the idea of the video game
Hmm.
over the television series myself. Um, from a storytelling point of view, I think you can. I've said this, like, one of the reasons I'm on Twitch is because Twitch has such a passionate atmosphere,
Hmm.
and I realized why. I realized why video games have been the of all the industries in entertainment, video games are just most solid, right? They
Hmm.
haven't decentralized very much. There is indie, don't get me wrong, and I think there's some great indie games out there, but it's such a healthy environment that the AAA games and the indie games, there's an audience for everybody, and everybody's so passionate. And the
Hmm.
reason why is video games can do something that books cannot, and
Hmm.
shows. I don't like. I watch even less television than I play video games, simply because I would rather stimulate my brain than
Yeah.
watch a television show.
Well, I
And
would say that there's a descending scale. So
yeah,
television, like you said, is the least audience engagement. A book at least calls the reader to imagine the setting themselves,
yes,
taking the limited description that the author gives them, and then coming up with their own internal view, like a movie that's playing in their mind, or
absolutely.
however they internalize books. But then you're right, games are the most engagement. That you are actually there is an input and a reaction.
Yeah, and the thing is, the player is impacting the world, and that's
Yes.
something I don't think books will never be able to do that. Like,
Yes.
books just can't do that. So
You
this is
can.
what.
We will eventually go like bringing this back to the beginning. Star Trek. We will eventually go holodeck, where you can have a movie that you interact with.
Yes,
Yes.
eventually. But even
Yes.
so, I if AI art has been an indication of what I'm going to see so far, all it's going to do is the people who are naturally inclined artists are going to have new tools to play with,
Hmm.
and everybody else will kind of find it'll have a novelty for a little while, then it'll just become another toy in the toy box
Hmm.
no one cares about. That's how I kind of see AI going in terms of creative, but um yeah, no, that interactivity, I love. I personally, any of the stuff I create, I love the idea of just a player coming into my world and going, what would you do with it?
Hmm.
Given the situations we've created for you, what would you do? And you let the player do what they please. And
Hmm.
that is something you can't do
That would
anywhere
be
else.
really cool, like a Skyrim style game in Divinity's Twilight.
I think
I could see that.
Skyrim would be one way to do it.
I mean, you could tell it like a normal Final Fantasy, but it would have to be a Final Fantasy 15. I'd want people to have freedom.
See, I actually also like the idea. Again, I'm not spoiling too much.
Mm-hmm.
The near autonoma, but with your events of the past, the battle you talk about in the very beginning of the story. That would be cool as a near style game.
Yeah,
that would be very cool. Like that part alone. I don't know if you could do it with the whole game, the whole world, but
you could do it with the events within. And I'm actually eventually going to write a prequel or a prequel novella that is like the 2 weeks preceding, and you could do it with that time span.
Yeah, no, I think that would be like that would be the way to do it. I think but also I also think the other idea, something that I think Nintendo's very smart about. They're like they will or Japan, even Japanese characters, Japanese companies are very smart about. They'll take their IP and they'll put them in all kinds of different games. Like, grant you, I'm not saying that that the goal of turning, let's say, Divinity Twilight into a Mario Party would necessarily be the that would be awesome. But again, now that I've said that, it's in your head. It's like that's amazing, right?
Can you see Celeste in one of those mini games?
Yes, I do. I totally could. That would be amazing. Come on, that would be fun.
Just like the sourest face ever. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. No. Hey, that's listen. If you look at this is the brilliance of the Mario franchise, like all the Mario franchise in particular. They have taken those characters and put them in situations all across the board. I'm not saying that should be his goal right away in the video game world, but down the road, if someone came to him and said, "Hey, listen, can I just put your characters on like this game board where they compete against each other?" He's halfway there now. Yep. He's halfway there. He's like,
oh no, this would be the most entertaining thing ever.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing. It's fun.
And also, I'm just thinking about it's the juxtaposition, because there'd be some characters that would key in on it immediately, like this is great, and then there'd be the others that would be the Bowser in the room that they're just being drug along.
Yeah, and actually, it'd be fun because you could just build them in the design to sabotage the games at random.
Yep.
That would be great. That would be like awesome, right? And again, people could listen to me and going, "This isn't brilliant." It's like, no, I disagree. It actually is quite brilliant, but it's.
And then you could even change the art style, like Sarkon, not giving away anything connected to it. Just imagine like a chibi version of Sarkon in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the point. Like that's the cool thing about video games. This is why video games are so awesome. You can make something fun and people will go along with it for the ride. Again, this is what we're talking about here is completely tongue in cheek. But that, as long as it's tongue in cheek, shrug. Why not? Why the hell not? And Chris is halfway there. He's listened to me when I said that. I'm like, I'm not saying no to this right now. It depends on how it's done. But I'm not outright saying no. Right? So, and that's just it. Or hell, even something as simple as like a Super Mario Kart style game too. That also could be
with airships.
Yes.
You can Super Mario Kart crossed with Pod Racer. That is 100%.
Yeah. See again. It's and again.
And I mean, Flag Brawl, the style of game's already built into the world. Like, how many Super Mario games deal with like pushing people off or capturing flags and different things like that?
Exactly.
It's already baked in.
Yeah. So again, it's not. It's a little bit outside the box in one way, but in another way, it's not really. It's just taking what you have and putting it in again, has to be tongue in cheek. You can't treat it with the same level of how do I put this? Seriousness. Dignity. Yeah. Dignity can go out the way, right? Dignity, what's that? But if it's fun and it's engaging and it hits a certain kind of audience, why not? And that's the cool thing about video games. This is why I think movie franchises you can't do that with. With a movie, people have a certain expectations of a story playing out in a very fun way. But with a game, everybody's just here to have fun anyway. Now, again, I wouldn't do an RPG like that. I think that would go. I don't think your series could be a Tales game. I don't think it has that ability. Right?
Well, you have the cast that comes together, the 6 to 8 people that could all be the playable characters that you could swap out in the main party, and that they come together at different downtimes and they have the cute little skits with each other. I definitely think that it works in that dynamic because I've thought
Yeah.
about this before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just don't do this. Just don't add this. Just don't put the busted snap pivot in there because don't make a game too easy to beat. Yeah, I broke Tails of Xillia with the snap pivot. I just realized how insanely busted that move is. It's just
But it's
like,
so satisfying.
oh no,
Yes.
it's busted, and you know
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
You know it. I can get behind the opponent and keep punching his head, just
Mhm.
punch them in. Yeah, it's
Oh,
very
when you get around to playing it all the way through, you're gonna love Tales of Arise. The combat just becomes so crisp and fun, and you've
what I
already done
did.
a little bit building up the meter to
Yeah,
stagger
yeah,
enemies.
no, it's really no. I loved what they did with it.
Hmm.
It's a little different on the controls than I was used to. It took me a couple
Hmm.
rounds to really get the hang of it, but it's just like, oh wow, this is
It's
fun.
the next evolution from Berseria.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And Berseria was super fun. It was
Hmm.
super fun. So I can still play Berseria, so I'll be playing that still until, like I said, Steam Deck. Then I'll be like, Arise! It'll be the first game. It's like, it's on my screen. It's on here. I bought the big enhance. It pissed
It
me off.
will arise with your Steam Deck.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Aha, indeed.
We have dad
Yeah.
jokes.
Yes. You're younger than I am. You shouldn't be dad joking, but we're better or worse, depending on how you look at it, than I was. But so, Chris, I wanted to say thanks for coming on, man.
Oh,
It was
absolutely. Thank you for
good.
having me. It's
Yeah.
always a blast.
So how about this? The next time I do the show, I'll be on the road.
Hmm.
Would you be down? Would you be down to be me? We could actually, we could actually do a video game stream, just for the same
Yeah.
place. That would be fun.
That
That
would
is
be
gonna,
incredible. And
yeah.
Tails couch co-op. I mean, you can't
Yeah,
do it with
exactly.
Arise, but you can do it with any of the other ones.
Well, no. At that point, we'll be able to. Yeah, we
Hmm.
pick the. So we'll pick one of the fun ones, either
Yeah.
Xillia, Berseria, or Roz. Pick one
Yeah.
of the really fun ones,
Hmm.
and we'll do it. And does that sound like a
Oh, that's why
plan?
I was saying Arise doesn't have co-op.
Oh, it doesn't.
No.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
It's
it
the
doesn't.
one black mark on an amazing game.
Okay, Berseria or Xillia. Pick what. You pick your game, and we'll do it.
I like Bazaria's combat better.
I respect that. I
Yeah.
totally respect that. And the reason why I picked those two folks is of all the Tales games, those are the two best in my
Hmm.
opinion of the Tales games pre Arise is those two.
Hmm.
So take your pick. Yeah, we could totally do that in person. I'll definitely head to your neck of the woods at some point, and we can play a little bit and bullshit just like we're doing here.
Yeah, that'll be amazing. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
All right, we'll figure that out in the months to come. We probably should promote your book somehow. I mean, we talked about it a lot, but I mean, we probably should do an official promo somehow, some way. So, what's your book and what's it
All right.
about?
So again, I'm Christopher Russell. I am an award-winning author of epic science fiction and fantasy. My series is Divinity Twilight. This is like steampunk meets Stormlight Archive or Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars. 7 different races, magic crystals, a lot of conflict, a lot of fighting, and the events of 700 years past before the start of the series are catching up with the cadets that are the main characters in the present, and they have to deal with that. Book 1 is Rebirth. Second book is Remnant. And book 3 is going to be Revelation. Should be out sometime this winter, either December or January. And you can find me, of course, at ChristopherRussellAuthor.com. That's my website. I'm on all social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. But all my handles are on that website. Oh, 2 L's in Russell.
Okay,
They
cool.
won't quite get it.
Okay, I'll get the next. I'll do the next one. They gave me a reward for this, Chris. They gave
Yep,
me
I'll
a
give you a reward for this.
Woohoo!
But no, people that love Brandon Sanderson's book say this is great. People that love Final Fantasy say this is great.
That's right.
So definitely get it on the series now so you can hit those big twists at the end of book 3 later this year.
All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will do it. I love having on second here as my Discord decided to go all the way off.
And did I mention there are dragons? They're even my own invention of dragons called a draken. It's a dragon crossed with a kraken. Some ancient sorcerers were messing around with stuff they probably shouldn't have, maybe hopped up on some magic weed, and they created this abomination that that nobody wants to come across on a dark night.
Actually, seriously, on that one, it's like you have to tell that story I did. I did. Did I do it again? Did I do that again? Did I screw up again?
No, that's the right one. I think. Let me.
Oh, there we go. I was doing what he told me to do, Jag. You can. I'm only going to take someone's blame for that. That's the one you have.
Okay, did you type in the right one?
That's the one she actually did. Jag actually typed in the right
Okay.
one for folks.
Perfect. Thank you, Jag.
Yeah. See. Like I said, you have a fan. You have a new fan there with Miss Jag. So, and honestly, Jag, I will say this: like, it was one of the best book ones of any fantasy series I've ever read. It's really, really good. He has a really good job. We didn't talk about how he subverted. We didn't talk about how he subverted the cadets in the way he did. At least in the first book, the hero of the story is not who you think it is, and he makes a really good job of what you might think to be the chosen one would be, and not so much.
Oh yeah, this is not a chosen one story.
Oh, it's not even close.
Yeah.
He takes a giant dump on that concept.
I knew you were going to say dump. I thought you said I was going to take a giant dump on the character, which I did.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I again, not a ton of time left, but like the one thing you did with all the cadets, you introduced them with expectations a lot of people have come to expect, and then you made them all of them, a lot more well-rounded. Oh, Chris knows me. This is not his first time on the show, right? This is not his first time, so he knows me. We have similar video game tastes. This is why we get along so well. So, that all said, Chris, best of luck on book 3. And honestly, dude, you got a series you should be very proud of, and I'm definitely happy you came on and talk about it.
Thank you, Josh. Can't wait to hear your thoughts, and thank you for doing this talk with me. Enjoyed chatting with you, chatting with Jag, being with your audience, and I can't wait to play Tales.
That's right. We will definitely do that. All right, guys. Have yourselves a wonderful day.